What happens when a billionaire walks into his own lobby with a mop in his hand, and no one knows who he is? Leonard Rivers stood outside store number 17 of his late father's chain, a sleek modern café with 20 locations across the state. It was supposed to be the flagship downtown, high-foot traffic, 5 years of great reviews. But lately, complaints had piled up. Long lines, rude staff, unclean floors. The last straw was a handwritten letter from an elderly customer who said she slipped on spilled coffee and no one helped. Leonard had inherited the company 2 years ago. At 39, he had taken the reins fast, growing the business, building out corporate strategy. But he hadn't stepped foot in half the stores, this one included. He dressed in a faded gray hoodie, jeans, and a black baseball cap. He'd shaved his beard and wore thick-rimmed glasses. No one in this store had ever met him. Most had only seen the corporate headshots from years ago, back when he wore suits and smiles. A hiring sign hung crooked near the door. Staff shortage. He'd heard that too. Most stores had enough people, but this one kept cycling through employees. He claimed to be a temp worker sent from an agency. They bought it. Name? The assistant manager asked, barely glancing up from her tablet. Leo Ramsey. She waved him in without another word. The lobby was half full. A spilled iced drink sat melting under a table. The trash bin overflowed. A couple at the corner table kept glancing around, annoyed. Grab the mop, the assistant manager muttered. Sweep the lobby, clean tables, don't bug the baristas. You're not trained for machines. Leonard nodded and got to work. The first hour passed quietly. He mopped, wiped down sticky chairs, cleared trays. His back ached. He hadn't done physical labor in years, but it felt good. Grounding. Then, just after noon, he heard raised voices behind him. He turned, still holding the mop. A young man in a green apron, maybe 18, maybe 19, stood near the counter, shoulders slumped. I just needed a 5-minute break, the kid said. You get breaks when I say you do, said a woman in her early 40s. Blonde, sharp posture, loud. You're not special, Eric. You're replaceable. Got it? Leonard froze. Eric's face dropped. I've worked 6 days straight, covered for Julie twice. I'm just tired. I don't care. You're a body, and bodies work. Don't like it? Quit. Leonard watched as the rest of the staff looked away. No one said a word. Customers stared. Eric clenched his jaw and walked to the back. Leonard walked over to the mop sink. His hands shook. He didn't say anything, yet he needed to see more. An hour later, a woman walked in with a stroller and 2 toddlers. One spilled a juice box almost instantly. Leonard bent down and wiped it quickly. Thank you, she said, smiling. You're the only one here who looks like they care. He just nodded. By 3 p.m., he had seen 3 more things. A barista crying quietly in the back near the lockers, a customer being snapped at for asking for oat milk, and the same blonde manager throwing out an application without reading it. Muttering, too many piercings, Leonard stepped outside for air, heart racing. He leaned against the wall. He felt ashamed. This was his store. His. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. I'm going to need full employee records for store 17, and I want to know how many people have quit in the last 4 months. Sure. Is everything okay? No, it's not. He hung up. When he stepped back inside, he found the manager. Her name tag read, Marcy, scolding a barista for not smiling enough. I swear, you kids think this is a daycare, she snapped. You don't smile, you don't greet, you're out. I can find 10 of you by tomorrow. Leonard knew then, this wasn't stress. This was her normal, and no one had stopped her because no one felt safe enough to. He waited until closing, helped clean, took mental notes on everything. Before leaving, he turned to the youngest barista, Eric, and asked quietly, You doing okay? Eric hesitated, then nodded. It's just hard. Marcy treats us like we're nothing, but jobs are hard to find right now. So we stay. Leonard looked him in the eye. Not for long, he said. Then he left, mop in hand, head down, but mind already planning what came next. The next morning, Leonard arrived before sunrise. The street still smelled of damp concrete and newspaper ink. Inside, the store lights were still off. He unlocked the side employee entrance with a code from corporate, one of the few perks of being the owner, and stepped into the back hallway just as a sleepy-eyed barista entered from the alley. It was Eric. He paused mid-step, blinking at Leonard. "You're here early." Leonard nodded. "Wanted to get ahead of things? You opening today?" Eric rubbed his eyes. "Yeah, again." He pulled his apron from a hook. "I asked for Sunday off, but Marcy said if I didn't want to lose hours, I'd better rethink it." Leonard didn't comment. Instead, he walked with him toward the prep area. Inside, the refrigerator hummed. The floors were still sticky from the night shift. Leonard grabbed a rag and started wiping the counter instinctively. Eric looked over, surprised, but didn't say anything. Another barista, a tall woman with a limp and a quiet way of moving, arrived next. She nodded briefly, clocked in, and immediately began restocking the pastry case. Her name tag read, Carmen. Leonard stepped beside her. "Need help?" Carmen didn't look up. "You don't have to. That's my job. I've got 2 hands. Might as well use them." She finally glanced his way. "You're not like the other temps." Leonard gave a small shrug. "Maybe I'm just trying to learn." "Or maybe," she muttered, "you haven't been broken yet." The store opened at 6. By 7, the line stretched to the door. One of the espresso machines sputtered and refused to steam. Eric juggled tickets while Carmen dealt with a customer who insisted her croissant was too cold. Marcy arrived at 7:30. She walked in with a paper cup from a rival café and didn't greet anyone. She skipped the prep area and marched straight to the front to inspect the tip jar. "Only this much?" she snapped. "Are you even asking people, or just standing there like statues?" Eric's jaw tensed, but he didn't respond. Leonard was wiping tables near the window. He watched her move from register to pastry case, criticizing everything from the whipped cream texture to the arrangement of muffins. She didn't lift a finger to help. At 10:30, Carmen accidentally dropped a tray of cups. They scattered across the floor. Marcy's voice rang out before anyone else could react. "Unbelievable. You've been here how long and still can't manage a tray?" Carmen bent down silently, her movements stiff. Leonard stepped forward. "I've got it." "It's no big deal." Marcy turned her gaze on him. "You," she pointed. "You're just here to clean. Don't talk over me again." Leonard stared at her, not angry, just calculating. She walked away without waiting for a reply. By noon, Eric was pale and swaying slightly. Leonard caught him leaning against the sink between orders. "You eaten anything?" "No time." Leonard reached into his bag and handed him a granola bar. "Take 5 minutes. I'll cover." Eric looked toward the front. "She'll lose it." "She's not here right now. Go." Eric hesitated, then slipped into the back. Leonard took the register. He moved slowly, making mistakes on purpose, feigning confusion. Customers were patient. One elderly man even smiled and said, "First day?" Leonard nodded. Marcy returned from her break 10 minutes later. She saw Leonard behind the counter and snapped, "Who told you to touch the register?" "Eric needed a break," he replied calmly. "He hasn't eaten." "You don't get to make that call. You're a cleaner. If this is too much for him, he shouldn't be here." Leonard set down the receipt printer. "What exactly do you think your job is, Marcy?" She blinked. "Excuse me? You come in late, you don't help anyone, and you insult the people actually running this place." Her voice dropped low and sharp. "Are you trying to get fired?" Leonard stepped around the counter, pulled off his cap, and removed his glasses. "I'm Leonard Rivers. I own this company." The silence was instant. Carmen froze mid-pour. Eric stepped out from the back, granola bar still in hand. A customer who just walked in stopped mid-step, confused by the tension. Marcy stared at him, speechless. Leonard didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I came here because this store has seen more turnover than any other. I've read the exit interviews. I've seen the customer complaints. And now I've seen you." She stammered. This is out of line. You can't just show up and pretend." "I didn't pretend. I worked. I cleaned your lobby. I saw how you treat people. You've created a place where employees are afraid to speak, and customers walk out with bad experiences." She glanced around. No one defended her. Leonard continued, steady. "Effective immediately, you're relieved of your duties. Your access to the system will be revoked. I'll have your final paycheck sent. You need to leave this store, now. Her mouth opened, closed. She grabbed her bag and stormed out. The door swung shut behind her. Nobody moved for a moment. Then Carmen set down the milk pitcher and quietly said, "Thank you." Leonard nodded. He turned to Eric. "You're the only reason this place is still running. You and Carmen. That's not how it should be. But it's going to change." Eric didn't say anything, but his shoulders dropped, the tension slowly uncoiling. Leonard walked behind the counter. "We're closing early today. Customers will understand." Carmen raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "I am. You two deserve a real break, and this store needs a reset." They closed the doors at 2. Leonard stayed behind, scrubbing the back room, helping inventory supplies. He made calls to HR, to facilities, to the regional hiring manager. He arranged for an interim supervisor to arrive the next day, someone he trusted from another store. At 5, he sat with Eric and Carmen in the back, eating sandwiches from the corner deli. He didn't talk about vision statements or long-term roadmaps. He asked them what they needed, what wasn't working, what they'd do if they ran the place. Carmen said she'd get someone to fix the grinder that kept jamming. Eric said he'd hire people who actually wanted to be there and treat them like they mattered. Leonard nodded. "Good. That's where we start." He left that evening as the sun dipped behind the buildings. The streetlights flickered on, casting silver across the sidewalk. He didn't feel proud. Not yet. But for the first time in a long time, he felt present, grounded, and he wasn't going to disappear again. The following week moved slowly. Leonard didn't return to corporate. Instead, he kept showing up at Store 17, not as the CEO, but as Leo. No disguise this time, no pretense. Just clean jeans, rolled sleeves, and a name tag clipped to his chest. The temp agency cover had been dropped, but he made it clear he wasn't here to give speeches or sit in the back office. He would work open to close until the new leadership structure was in place and the right people were promoted. On Monday morning, when the first customer walked in, Leonard was already behind the counter helping Carmen finish a batch of brewed dark roast. Eric was halfway through a morning shift, moving a little slower than usual, but steadier than before. They were still short-staffed. There were just 3 of them on the floor, and the espresso machine still sputtered inconsistently despite a service request. But the tension that had hung in the air the week before was gone, replaced with something quieter. Not quite hope, not yet, but something closer to breathing room. By Wednesday, Leonard had already noticed something else. Customers were staying longer. A few left tips. One regular, a woman in her 50s with a worn leather briefcase, told Carmen it felt less hostile in here. That afternoon, Carmen pulled Leonard aside while Eric restocked the dairy fridge. "I haven't seen her since you let her go," she said. "Marcy, is she going to fight it?" Leonard shook his head. Everything was documented. HR closed it the same day. They found prior complaints that were never escalated. "We missed them. That's on me." Carmen crossed her arms. "She used to say we were lucky to have her, said she kept this place from falling apart. She kept people from speaking up. That's not leadership, that's control." Carmen didn't argue. She just nodded and went back to prepping cold brew. On Thursday, a new face showed up. Her name was Dana. She was a lead from a different location, a steady hand Leonard had trusted for years. She'd agreed to take over as interim manager for 3 weeks, while they rebuilt the team properly. When she walked in, she didn't do it with arrogance or false cheer. She just stepped behind the counter, rolled up her sleeves, and asked where the gloves were kept. Eric watched her for a full hour before approaching Leonard during a lull. "She's different," he said quietly. "She actually asked me how I was doing, not like to check a box." She listened. Leonard replied, "She's here to help, and she's earned it." That Friday, the first set of interviews began. They had 6 applicants scheduled. 2 showed up. One was early 20s, soft-spoken, with a resume that showed 3 jobs in the last year. The other was a single dad looking for weekend shifts to supplement his warehouse gig. Dana led the interviews, but Leonard sat in the back, observing, not judging, just watching how they responded, how they interacted with her, how they spoke about customer service and teamwork. After the second interview, Dana set the folder down and turned to Leonard. "They're green," she said, "but teachable. And they didn't flinch when I asked how they handle stress." "Hire them," Leonard said. We'll train from the ground up. By Saturday, the shift was long and relentless. The downtown foot traffic surged, lines curled toward the door. A delivery order had been shorted, leaving them low on milk alternatives. Carmen spent most of her break on the phone with suppliers, trying to get an extra crate of oat milk delivered before noon. Dana pulled Leonard aside near the sink. We need one more body for weekends, minimum. This pace isn't sustainable. I'm already pulling someone from another store next week, he said, but I don't want to overload them either. We'll keep recruiting. Dana hesitated. What if we promote internally? Leonard looked at her. Carmen, she added. She's already doing half the manager's job. Staff trust her. She documents everything. She doesn't fold under pressure. Leonard crossed his arms. Would she even want the job? I asked. She didn't say no. He gave a slow nod. Let's talk to her Monday. That evening, the espresso machine gave out completely. It hissed, whined, then went dead mid-latte. Eric yanked the shot pitcher away before it overflowed. Leonard pulled the power cord. That's it. We're not serving another cup through that thing. It's unsafe. We can't close early again, Carmen said. It's Saturday. We'll get hammered. Leonard looked at the line. We'll refund espresso orders, offer batch brew and teas. It's not ideal, but it's better than burning out staff. Dana moved to the front and began calmly explaining the situation to customers. A few grumbled. Most accepted it. One man complained loudly, but left after Carmen offered him a free muffin to make up for the inconvenience. Eric looked at Leonard after they caught a breath between orders. Thanks for not forcing us to push through. Leonard didn't respond right away. He was watching a young woman refill napkin holders near the condiment station. She'd just been hired 3 days ago. No formal training yet, but she was moving with purpose. He finally said, That's the bar now. We adapt. We protect our people. No more pushing through just to meet numbers. Eric nodded once and went back to stocking lids. When Monday came, Carmen sat across from Leonard in the back office. It was the first time she'd been in that chair without being summoned for a write-up or a schedule change. Dana sat beside her, clipboard in hand. We'd like to offer you the assistant manager role, Leonard said, with training and support. You'd oversee scheduling, track inventory, and help onboard new hires. Carmen leaned back. You trust me to do that? You've already been doing half of it, just without the authority to make decisions. She didn't answer right away. Dana said, We're not asking you to save the store. We're asking you to help run it the right way. Carmen finally nodded. I'll do it. But I want to be part of hiring too. No more people treating this place like a stepping stone. You've got it, Leonard said. Anything else? The grinder's still jamming, and the new guy keeps putting the milk jugs in the wrong fridge. Leonard smiled faintly. We'll train him. The next day, the new espresso machine arrived. Leonard personally helped install it with the technician. It was faster, quieter, more efficient. Carmen trained the team on its pressure settings and maintenance schedule. By Thursday, the store was still understaffed, but it was running. There were no raised voices, no slammed clipboards, no threats disguised as instruction. When a customer spilled an entire smoothie across the floor, the new hire grabbed a mop before being asked. Carmen thanked her. Leonard watched from afar, sipping a plain black coffee by the window. Not everything was fixed. Not yet. But something had shifted. Not just the energy on the floor, not just the way customers were treated, but the way people looked at each other, like they belonged. And that, more than anything, was the beginning of what he'd come to build. By the third week, the rhythm had changed, but the pressure hadn't gone away. With only 5 reliable workers on the schedule, shifts were still tight. Leonard knew better than to assume morale alone could solve burnout. It helped, but didn't replace hands or hours. Carmen had taken to tracking the week's orders in a spiral notebook she kept tucked under the counter. Not because she didn't trust the system, she just didn't trust it alone. Tech goes down, she'd said once. Paper doesn't. Leonard respected it. He respected a lot of what she did. Every time she turned a minor crisis into a solved problem without fanfare, he was reminded how much potential had gone unnoticed under the prior regime. Dana had extended her stay another week. I won't leave until the foundation's stable, she'd told him. Not while people are still figuring out how to stand on it. He didn't argue. On a rainy Wednesday morning, a woman walked in just after open, late 20s, with a clipboard and a stiff posture. She introduced herself quietly to Carmen as the district safety inspector. Corporate had sent her without warning a standard quarterly surprise check. Carmen motioned her toward the back, then returned to the bar without comment. Leonard watched her move through the store, only briefly checking floor drains, inspecting first aid kits, peering into corners most workers forgot existed. By the time she finished, the morning rush had begun. Leonard was at the register, Dana was steaming milk, and Eric was halfway through a to-go order with 5 different drink labels when the inspector approached the counter. "Good operation," she said to Leonard without lowering her voice. "Clean, responsive, staff knows their roles, night and day from the last report." Dana handed over a drink and raised an eyebrow. "Last report? 2 quarters ago," the inspector said. "Back then, they failed the locker inspection and had a rodent complaint logged. I was told leadership turnover might help. Seems it did." Leonard didn't respond. He just nodded and turned back to the register. Once the rush cleared, Carmen approached Leonard near the pastry case. "I got the email from the hiring portal. 2 new applicants. One's a college student. The other's a retired teacher looking for part-time work." Leonard leaned on the counter. "Think either will stick?" "Depends," she said. "The student's looking for night shifts. The teacher wants early mornings only. We could piece it together." "Bring them in," he said. "Let's see how they move." That afternoon, while Dana ran interviews in the back, Leonard helped Eric with the storeroom count. They were down to 5 sleeves of medium cups and no more backup milk crates. He placed a call to the supplier, but the earliest delivery was 3 days out. He hung up and turned to Eric. "We'll warn customers before they order, offer discounts for bringing their own containers." Eric rubbed his temple. "We've had 3 supply issues in 2 weeks. That normal?" "It's not," Leonard said, "but it's happening in a lot of industries right now. We're working on backup vendors." Eric leaned against the shelf, not complaining, just tired. Leonard hesitated. "You need time off?" Eric looked at him. "I mean, yeah. But who covers?" Leonard exhaled. "I'll take your Sunday. Carmen will do the prep. Dana's still here. We'll make it work." "You sure?" Eric asked. "I don't want to drop the ball." "You're not dropping anything," Leonard said. "You're passing it. That's what teams do." That Friday, the student interviewed well. She had no food service experience, but she asked sharp questions and offered to pick up swing shifts on short notice. Dana approved her on the spot. The retired teacher, however, didn't show. Carmen texted her once. No reply. Later that night, Leonard and Dana sat on milk crates behind the store, their backs to the alley wall. The street was quiet. A bus hissed in the distance. "You could have stayed in the office," Dana said. "Sent someone else to handle all this." "I know," Leonard said. "So why didn't you?" He took a long pause before answering. "Because if I hadn't come here, I wouldn't have believed it. The reports weren't enough. Numbers don't show humiliation. They don't show exhaustion." Dana nodded. "They sure don't show the smell of burnt milk." He laughed softly. She stood up, brushing off her jeans. "You've got a shot here, but don't rush it. People need time to believe things are actually different." "I'm not going anywhere," he said. On Monday, Carmen found a note wedged under the register mat. It was folded twice, written on a napkin. No name, just a short message. "Thank you for making this place feel safe again." She showed it to Leonard without comment. He read it, then folded it again and slipped it into his wallet. That afternoon, the new hire started her first shift. Carmen walked her through the grinder settings, showed her how to mark decaf lids, and explained how to restock the pastry case without crushing the croissants. Leonard watched from behind the counter. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. The girl was listening. Carmen was teaching. The shift was holding. That evening, Leonard gathered the team after close. No meeting agenda, no PowerPoint. Just the 5 of them, gathered around the clean counter with their hands still smelling of sanitizer and cinnamon. "I won't be here every day going forward," Leonard began, "but I'll be checking in, and I want you to keep telling me what needs fixing." Carmen crossed her arms. "You're really stepping back?" "Not disappearing," he said. "Just making space. You've got this." Eric spoke up. "So, what happens now? Long term?" "We're hiring 2 more. We're upgrading the grinder, and we're starting a mentorship program for new hires led by people who've proven they know what this place should be. Carmen blinked. You mean us? I do. No one said anything for a moment. Then Dana added, There's one more thing. She walked to the back and returned with a frame. Inside was a photo taken by a regular customer who was a freelance photographer. It showed Carmen and Eric behind the counter, mid-shift, laughing about something. Leonard was in the background, wiping down a table. Dana set the frame on the counter. It'll stay here, she said, so no one forgets what this place looked like when it turned around. Carmen touched the edge of the frame. You sure it should be us in it? Leonard simply said, I am. Later that night, he walked out the front door alone. The lobby lights dimmed behind him. The sidewalk was slick from evening rain, the neon signs of the late-night deli flickering across the street. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Inside, the store was still standing, and this time, it had people who would keep it that way.